Hey, everybody. This is Natalie Fikac from the Texas Institute for Excellence in Mental Health, and you're listening to Talking Beyond Trauma. Becoming a mother is often described as one of life's most beautiful experiences. But what about the parts that we don't see on social media? The sleepless nights, moments of doubt, and silent struggles. This season, we're exploring the unspoken challenges of maternal mental health with Amanda Boquist. Amanda has over 15 years of experience in clinical settings, schools, and school districts. She provides training and technical assistance in the school mental health space. Since becoming a mom, Amanda has been open about her pregnancy journey and advocates for more authentic maternal mental health conversations. Today, Amanda will take us through her postpartum journey, including breastfeeding challenges, managing dysregulation, and finding community with other women. Before we begin, let's recognize that motherhood comes in all forms. We want to honor and respect everyone's unique journey as a mother. And whether you're a new mom, an experienced parent, or someone supporting a mother, this podcast is just for you. Thanks for joining us. We're back to spend some more time with Amanda Boquist.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Talk about maternal mental health.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Thanks for being here. So thinking back, your youngest is
Almost 2.
Wow.
Time flies.
Thinking about that post-pregnancy journey, and managing 2 different age young men, young people, young boys. Well, what was your experience that you remember when you think about your overall physical health and mental health specifically?
I think once Luke was 6 before I had Joshua, and we had a pretty good rhythm down. We had kind of, figured everything out. And then starting all over was tough. And I think that when we only had one, if I needed to step out or if I needed a break, my husband was always there to support. And so we could balance that pretty easily. And we'd found a kind of a good rhythm. And with another one of us is tag teaming one child at all times. Even though, Luke is a little bit older and more independent, he still doesn't have a sibling that's old enough to play with him or to not tear apart his Legos that he just built and so one of us is paying attention to one and the other one. One of the things that I didn't mention earlier was that I tried to breastfeed both boys. Mm-hmm. I was unsuccessful with both after an inordinate amount of effort and money and time and energy spent. This is something that I thought would happen very simply because babies just latch.
Right.
I'm doing air quotes. That did not happen. And my kids did not have tongue ties or lip ties. There was no rhyme or reason that anyone could figure out. It just didn't happen. And so I really struggled with that, again, feeling like a failure. In thinking through, how that postpartum time of life, even with my first, when I'm going back, my birth experience was so traumatic that I needed medical attention after delivering. And so my husband had to do skin to skin. So I didn't even have that experience with him right after delivery. So we didn't have that opportunity to bond right away even. The second time around, although my birth experience was less traumatic and very different, and my mindset was very different. My mental health was in a different place entirely. Even then, I still had these intense feelings of a failure. Yeah. I couldn't feed my kid in the very most natural way that nature gives us. And there was a lot of shame around that we've talked about. I think a common phrase in the pediatric world, if you will, is, fed is best. don't come at me. People have very strong feelings about this. But in my opinion, that's where I landed, was fed is best. So whether that is he's able to breastfeed, whether it's formula, whether it's a combination, if you're pumping, if you're whatever you're doing, you're able to provide the nutrients and nourishment for your child that they need. So in coming home with a newborn baby and trying to, as you mentioned, handle post-COVID, working from home, both kids were home. Our house was a constant disaster, feeling like I felt like I was drowning. I felt like I couldn't keep my head above water, no matter how hard I tried or what I did, not to mention, my hormones, not to mention I exclusively pumped for about 7 months with both boys.
And anyone who hasn't pumped, that's a lot.
So time, it takes.
That's a huge commitment.
Yeah. It's a lot. I remember one time we took a road trip and I had to buy a pump that fit the old cigarette burners in the cars. That was the electrical outlet, and I was pumping with the.
Oh my goodness gracious!
The stories, but yeah, my mental health was not where it should have been after bringing home Joshua, and it took a while to find a new rhythm. Not to mention, I had to redefine who I was. Yeah. It's so easy to lose sight of ourselves in this because we are now completely enveloped by, and our children are fully dependent upon us for everything. And we don't have time to clean. We don't have time to socialize. We don't have capacity for our partners. We don't, much less make a doctor's appointment and get there on time, or go to church, or go to happy hour, whatever it is. There is nothing. And going from the freedom to have, all of these things at your fingertips to really not having any free time, it felt like, is extremely challenging. Much less put a hot meal on the table or even a cold meal at that, So, yeah, it was really tough. You find a way, right? You keep going. You put one foot in front of the other. I mean, I'm sure, I only have 2. You have 3.
We will not do any comparative suffering.
But I'm just saying, and I have heard many people say, that it gets easier because then they can all play with each other. And I think that people's experiences just organically occur and they figure it out, right? That's all we can do is we figure it out. And we give ourselves grace and say, you know what?
So important.
That pile of dirty laundry is going to sit there for another week. Sorry.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think kind of just getting to that point and realizing that, A, not everything is going to be resolved at the same time. B, everyone is fed, clothed, loved, safe. I kind of have to silo priorities. Yeah. I remember the first time I went out of town and left the boys with my husband. And my husband is wonderful and very hands-on, and he's a great dad. But I came home and I think one kid's shirt was on backwards. The house was completely upside down. My husband was very frazzled, but he was like, "We survived." And I'm like, "You know what? You're right.
You did.
Everyone's alive. Good job."
Yes. Oh my goodness. You just touched on so many things just about postpartum and what that's like and how life just looks really different. And from 0 to 1 child, or if you have twins or triplets, right? From 0 to 2, or 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, whatever. And then the age gaps, right? And I'm even just thinking about going back to my boys, 26, 24, 19, even though my oldest 2 are 23 months apart. That was wild. And then our youngest is 4 years apart, 6 years apart. They really grew up in different times.
So true.
Essentially, when I think back to their elementary, junior high, high school experiences. And so I just think we're all just kind of doing the best that we can with what we have, and addressing our own mental health is so, so important.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I think I've come to realize is how much we're having to parent ourselves at the same time. And I came across this quote. I'll read it. It says, "The hardest part of parenting is trying to reparent yourself while parenting your child, and learning how to manage your own emotions while trying to teach your child how to manage theirs." And that really just struck me, because it is so much of the time making sure that I'm regulated to acknowledge and embrace and support my child who doesn't know how to regulate their emotions yet.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't be that as well. And so recognizing that I also have to pour into myself, and it just kind of reiterated that, like, my mental health is just as important, if not more so important, because I also then have to teach someone else how to do that.
Yeah, model it and take care of yourself. And that takes me to another conversation we had yesterday.
Oh my gosh, yes, the calm down corner. My child has their teacher has a calm down corner in the classroom, and you know, my husband and I were having a disagreement or an argument, and everyone was dysregulated in the moment. And I decided to turn to my son and say, "Okay, what do you do? What do you say or show a symbol or something when you alert the teacher that you need to go to the calm down corner for whatever reason?" And he said, I throw up a peace sign. No words have to be exchanged, and the teacher instantly knows, yes, you need to go, and just accepts it and approves it immediately. So I decided, new family rule, when someone is feeling out of sorts or overstimulated or dysregulated, or just that they need a moment of quiet and to breathe, we're going to throw up a peace sign. And that indicates to everybody in the family to kind of pause, allow that to happen, and then we can regroup and kind of come back together and talk about things, or, you know, figure out the situation in a way that feels safe for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's so hard to do, but kind of making those little tips or tricks, and figuring out what's best for your family and what's going to work for you all is critical.
Absolutely. I love that. I wish I would have had that when my boys were little. And thinking about the age of your boys, yeah, I mean, they're 7 and 2, almost 2.
Yeah.
And thinking about maybe some new mothers who are listening, would you have any thoughts or suggestions or experiences for when they're little and they can't communicate, and maybe dysregulation that happens with partners?
Yeah. You know, dysregulation will happen. Probably in all parties. So accepting that and knowing that, I think, is your first step. I think that many of the challenges don't have to have really complicated solutions. And something as easy as, okay, we've decided that we're going to have this tiny little symbol, and immediately we're going to recognize that this person needs some time. I think figuring out those tiny little things. Sometimes my partner and I have a silly word that we say. If we recognize that the other person is maybe becoming dysregulated, or, you know, instead of saying, "Hey, you need to calm down," which, who does that help ever? Has anyone ever said to you that? Doesn't make you calm. And so we have a silly, funny word that kind of takes us out of the moment. For little kids, I find that with my children, I don't send them away to figure out their emotions on their own. I sit with them, even if they don't want to hug or they don't want to talk. I'm just in their presence, and I tell them, you know, you're safe. Your feelings are valid. I understand that, you know, learning how to have boundaries while also being kind to your kids.
Yeah.
I say it like it's easy, and it's so not easy. But it has really helped in my family for our kids to feel safe to feel the things that they're feeling and get over it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how many times, well, you're a past educator. How many times in elementary school even did you recognize that sometimes kids just need to sit with the feeling, they need to feel validated,
Yeah.
and then it's over?
Absolutely. It's creating that safe space. And I would say, like, that's one thing I recognize about you and your family and your husband and your boys. Like, you talk about feelings.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes too much.
And I don't know. I often say this to you. I say, I kind of need a redo with my boys because, man, like, we didn't do that so much until I got training and went back to school and learned about counseling. But feelings are discussed, emotions are discussed, there's safety, communication is important. And so how would you say, like, those three things, communications, emotions, feelings, plays currently or played into, like, your mental health journey as a mother?
That's a great question. I think being able to identify what the emotion is or what the feeling is, and taking time to recognize why that feeling is happening allowed me to, I mean, we say name it to tame it. You know, we talked about that a little bit yesterday, like takes the power out of it. But, you know, saying, okay, and being able to sit in the emotion, right? I am feeling very frustrated. My husband has not washed the dishes. My house is a wreck. My kid has dirty diapers. I'm trying to do 10 minutes of work. I'm feeling overstimulated. It's so loud. You know, all of these things, right? And just being in tune with your body and saying, like, oh my gosh, I am feeling very overwhelmed right now. What do I need in this moment to get back to a comfortable place where I can then move forward? You know, there's a lot of skills, there's a lot of tools that we can learn to help us through that journey. And I have been gifted with the ability and the knowledge to practice this regularly, and not everyone has. And it's hard to make that shift and to just say, how does it make it better? Oh, we'll just do, you know, X, Y, Z. And that might work one time and then not work the next 10 times. Mm-hmm. There are days in which I nail it and I am feeling on cloud nine and I'm like, yes, I did all the things right. I used all my tools in the way that I know I should. There are other days that I fail miserably. Part of that practice is getting back up and trying to do it again the next day. Yeah. And also recognizing that I need to give myself grace in those moments. I need to offer myself the ability to not be perfect, and that's okay, because all of this is a journey.
For sure. And what a great thing to model to the young people that we get to support and grow our failures. Remember, as a teacher and even as a parent, saying, like, we only grow through failure, and recognizing that and naming it. That's how we get better. And it's a journey. And what you were just sharing reminds me of something I have often talked about with people. HALT. I can just see, like, this stop sign with HALT. When you are hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, that's kind of your cue to step away, give yourself what you need. And so there's a high level of emotional intelligence and self-awareness that is a big piece of that. Well, my experience with your family is, like, you model that. Okay, so Luke, like, this is what I'm feeling. I see that you're feeling this way. Let's talk about it. And you process aloud what you're feeling with them. And that's so beautiful.
It's hard. I just want to acknowledge that it's really hard because, and especially, you know, at different stages of pregnancy or postpartum, you are always hungry or tired. You are oftentimes at least one or two of those things at the same time. Mm-hmm. And you're trying to also manage everyone else's emotions. And it's, you know, it goes back to that same quote that I just talked about, that I just read about managing my emotions while also trying to teach someone else. And I think that the focus I have landed on the fact that the focus needs to be on me, and then through me, others will learn.
So true.
Yeah.
And you're touching on something that me as a 23-year-old mom, first-time mom, I don't think I recognized or put the puzzle together, the importance of emotions, the connection between physical health and mental health, or emotional health and physical health, and how that is like this really important puzzle that goes together over the past 2 decades plus. Like, we're starting to talk more about that and recognize that. And so, do you have any thoughts or words of wisdom for young moms? And when I say, or first-time moms, even, is there something that you wish you would have heard?
Oh, man. Probably. I think at the end of the day, people are generally flinging pieces of advice at you, and you get to choose what invades your space and what doesn't. And I think my only piece of advice would be, you do you. Make it the experience.
Wow.
Make it the experience that you want to have, and not anyone else's experience.
Man, I wish I would have heard that.
Because, me too,
Yeah.
right? Because that's not what it's not what I received.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can kind of own that, and that you can kind of, have power over that, I think is really a special thing. One of the things that helped me was also feeling this idea that I was connected to other women across the world who were also experiencing something similar at the same time, and how all of our experiences throughout different cultures looked so vastly different. Kind of gave me this really cool perspective that, like, I can do this, right? There's a lot of fear in the unknown. For me, there was. And so this kind of collaborative or collective humanity of women across the globe experiencing pregnancy for the first time, and all of the highs and lows, and the knowns and unknowns, and fears and joy that go along with that, wasn't an isolated event. I'm not the first person. I'm not the last person, certainly. And so knowing that kind of allowed me to feel like it was all going to be okay, despite what I tried to plan for, and despite the challenges that I experienced and the trauma that I faced. There was still kind of this, I felt this overwhelming sense of like community almost, from the world that I didn't know.
Wow. You just took me back. I'm remembering having a 3-week-old in 1998, going to Walmart for the first time out of the house, like with a newborn, with my tiny baby.
3 weeks, wow.
You just never know. Like back then, I guess we did that. I mean, I did. And like I had to go get diapers. And I remember like having this overwhelming connection to other moms I was seeing, like pushing their kids in their cart or holding their hand. I remember thinking, that person's amazing. Like I had no idea just the experience of childbirth and how challenging and uncomfortable and all the things that, and exciting and all the things that go with that. Like that person also experienced that.
Yeah.
And that person also probably, is not sleeping. And, you're so right. Like I remember having a moment in Walmart in Temple, Texas, like thinking, wow, like it's a community of badass women.
Yeah. Power, man. Yeah. It's pretty spectacular. And I think that, to bring us back to the mental health aspect, I think it's kind of the missing piece that we're not quite there. We can support each other by bringing dinners and by sharing, tired moms. I can take an overnight shift or, those types of things. I can care for your older kids while you spend time with your baby. I still think that we're not – it's not part of the normal conversation yet to talk about how are you doing? How is your mental health? What can I do to support you? And I also think that sometimes it takes people who are close to us to recognize that something is off. And it's okay to share that in a kind way. But I think that it's in progress.
Mm-hmm. So much better, in my opinion, than 26 years ago.
Yeah. Well, we know more now too,
Yeah.
right? And so that's certainly helpful.
And I think that takes a level of vulnerability
Absolutely.
on our parts as moms to talk about the things that maybe was not modeled being talked about whenever we were brought up. Like, we didn't talk about feelings. Vulnerability was a sign of weakness. We have to pretend like we're getting it right. We put our best out there, which is maybe not always authentic, which leads us to not maybe feel like we can't be vulnerable about the hard crap that happens.
Yeah. I also think that our system is not set up to support it yet. And I think there are some major changes that need to occur at a systems level, at a national level, that would make waves in supporting that, in supporting mental health, in supporting women. For instance, when women have a C-section, it's a very invasive surgery. It is the only surgery that I know of where you are expected to be back at work and be able to function normally within a matter of days. No one expects that when you go and have heart surgery or a gallbladder removal, right? I mean, it's very simple things that for some reason are just not happening. So yeah, I think that there's a long way to go, but I'm happy to be, helping pave the way in my own tiny little faction of support. So.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Talking Beyond Trauma. I'm grateful to have Amanda here to share her truth and remind us that every mother's experience is valued and valid. If you enjoyed our conversation, we invite you to subscribe, leave a review, or share with others who might find it helpful. In the next episode, we'll explore how to navigate social media and motherhood. For non-moms out there, we'll discuss ways to support new moms in your life. Thanks again, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to our production of Talking Beyond Trauma, which is made available by the South-Southwest Mental Health Technology Transfer Center, or MHTTC, through a cooperative agreement funded by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA. The MHTTC's primary goal is to provide free training, share best practices, and offer ongoing support and consultation to professionals serving individuals with mental health challenges. We would like to extend our gratitude to our guest, Amanda Boquist, and our host, Dr. Natalie Fikac, for their contribution to this discussion. Lastly, we would like to acknowledge the hard work of our dedicated team, without whom this project would not have been possible. Season 3 was produced by the communications team here at the Texas Institute for Excellence in Mental Health. It was recorded and edited by Mckenzie Bentley. Our theme music is by Scooter Holiday. The opinions expressed in this presentation are the views of our speakers and do not reflect the official position of the Department of Health and Human Services, or SAMHSA. If you'd like more information on this and other MHTTC products in the South-Southwest region, you can find a link in the episode description. This session was pre-recorded. We appreciate your participation and hope the discussion helped your journey. Be well.